Hey friend, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Alan Lee and I own and operate Honestly Handyman Services here out of Sacramento, California. So if this is your first time tuning in and you are here to learn about the handyman business, the handyman business ins and outs, DIY projects, how to price handyman jobs, how to estimate handyman jobs, how to market your handyman business, go ahead and click the subscribe button below because that's what we're all about here. So here at Honestly Handyman, I am all about being completely transparent with you guys. I want you guys, if you guys are looking to get started as a handyman, I want you guys to know exactly what you're getting into. So everything I do, from my work videos to DIY videos to how to price handyman jobs, everything is in that completely transparent mindset. I try and show you guys the ins and outs of everything, the goods and the bads, so that is what I'm all about. So in today's video, I want to talk about how much a handyman makes, how much money a handyman makes per hour, per day, and per year. So let's get started. So like I've talked about before in some of my past videos on how to price handyman jobs, when I first started out in the handyman business, I started out just pulling a number from thin air, and that number was $50 an hour. I felt like that was kind of a good starting point because after all, I was only making like 20-something dollars an hour at my full-time job to begin with, so I thought $50 an hour was great. But it wasn't until I really looked into how much money I needed to make as a handyman to support my business and my personal life when I really made some big changes in my pricing structure. So that's really kind of where these numbers come from, is when I figured out my handyman need, is what I call it, my hourly need. So typically what most handymen range in an hourly need is anywhere from like $50 an hour, and this is really dependent on where your location is around the world, and then how much money you need to kind of operate your own lifestyle, you know, whether your wife works or not. So typically most handymen go from around $50 an hour to somewhere like $110 an hour on the high end. So that's kind of like your hourly rate. For me personally, I do not charge by the hour anymore. I did when I first started. Now I charge by the job. So I go out and I give people estimates, and so they know exactly what they are paying for a specific job. I know exactly how much I'm making on the specific job as well. So typically that's what most handymen try and aim for, and for every handyman it's going to be a little bit different. You know, but you need to go through kind of your own calculator, figure out exactly how much your hourly need is as a handyman. I have one of those calculators available at handymanjourney.com that you could check out as well. I'll link that in the description below. So one of the things that I really love about this handyman business is the freedom that this handyman business gives you, and that is really found in your pricing structure as well. So a few days ago, for instance, I'll show you guys kind of the low end, right? I worked for an hour and a half. Last Thursday, I worked for an hour and a half, and I made a total of $200 profit. So that was, and that's all I made for that day, was that $200. But what I gained from that day was I got to spend a whole lot of time with my wife and my daughter. That was a day that I chose to kind of only work, you know, like an hour and a half that day. I only scheduled one job that day because I wanted to do other things with that day. Most days I typically range from somewhere around $600 to $800 profit per day, and that's working anywhere from 5 to 8 hours per day. Typically, you know, more like 5 to 6 hours a day, all depending on the job scope and kind of what's needed in that. But like I've talked about before, typically the jobs that I like to do are honey-do list items. The jobs that typically make me the most profit, and I have a whole video on that, I will link that up here as well. The jobs that make me the most profit are the ones that require the least amount of material. So like your ceiling fan installation, or your outlet replacement, or replacing a toilet, or you know, unclogging a sink, things like that. So the way that I typically make money is by doing little here and there jobs. So like I'll go to a house and I'll do maybe 15 or 20 items on one house in one day, and that bill really just adds up. So so in my handyman job, the days that I'm actually working, probably the least amount of money that I've ever made in a day that I'm actually working is somewhere around $150 to $200. The most amount of money that I've made is about $1,300 to $1,500. I can't quite remember. That was kind of when I first started. I had one really good day. I've had a lot of, you know, kind of $1,000 days, you know, throughout there, but that was probably my highest, $1,300 to $1,500. So you could definitely make a whole lot of money in this. Last year, I profited $70,000 from this business. And so this year I'm planning on doing a whole lot more. And again, all these figures, they differ for wherever you're at around the world. So don't take for what I'm saying for what you need to be aiming for, but you need to figure out what your hourly need is. That's one of the most important things about pricing and figuring out how much a handyman makes per hour, per day, and per year. But those are just some of my figures. Yours may differ a little bit, but that is what I have found of how much a handyman makes per hour, per day, and per year. And also talking to a whole bunch of other handyman as well. I would love to have you guys join our Handyman Mastermind Facebook group if you aren't a part of that. I will put the link to that in the description below, also in the comment section. Also, comment on this video. Let me know, how you guys price handyman jobs, what you guys need to learn a little bit about, because I'm always learning as well. That's what it's all about. Also, I have a free ebook for you guys that I would love to give you guys. It is at handymanjourney.com. I'll link that in the description below. That is the 4 secrets to success as a handyman. But thank you all so much for tuning in this video. I hope you learned a little something. And I will see you guys on the next video as you just subscribed. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.